So Ryan, well, this is the first time you're coming on my show.
Yes, sir.
You're not new to this podcast thing, but I feel like we're both new to the idea of movies with titles that are just sentences. This year, I feel like we've got "Talk to Me," "It Lives Inside," "No One Will Save You." What was the one that came out last year? No one gets out alive. Is that the one about Is that the one about like the Spanish? I guess like the Spanish experience through the lens of horror. All movie titles that do not relay any amount of information as to what the fuck the movies are about. But yet, I guess these are horror movie titles, right? Like this just seems like a horror movie thing. I don't think there would be a movie called "No One Will Save You." That's not a horror movie.
Some sort of dramedy.
Yeah, right. "No One Will Save You," starring Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. Like, I just don't see that happening. Unless it's about Adam Driver murdering Scarlett Johansson. In the end, he ends up murdering his wife. Like, what was that? There's another movie. It's on Netflix. "Things Seen and Heard." Another.
Oh gosh.
That movie.
I've not even heard of that one.
That movie was so bad. Everybody who agreed to be on the episode didn't show up. And so we never did it. I'm not even kidding. We were supposed to do it, I think, last year, and that movie was just such a mess. But on this episode of the Kulturecast, I am still your host, Chris Stachiw, much to the chagrin of many, and I'm joined by my good friend. He has never been on my show before, but like I mentioned, he does this thing all the time, just like I do, all the way from disc-connected and the spots of the internet that you may not have explored yet. Your friend and mine, Ryan Verrill.
Hello. I'm honored to be here, and just like you, I've been laughing at some of these titles. And one of the things I put together last year is it seems like they're evolving into the emo songs of 2006. Mm-hmm. And it's just going to be say anything, naming, producing a horror film that's, 43 words long in the title.
I'm like a lawyer in the way that I'm always getting you off. Yep. That's Fall Out Boy, right? That's what I always think of. Yeah, I was having a conversation with a friend. They were like, Fall Out Boy songs titles aren't that long. I'm like, yes, they are. Let me prove it to you. They're 40 words. Yeah, no, next year's hit horror movie. No One Will Save You in the End. We promise.
The lights are off and you're stuck in the closet.
Yeah, that's the entire title. The entire title of the movie is just explaining what happens in the movie. Well, it is still Horror-tober 9, because I've been doing this podcast for 9 years now. And this year we're just talking about whatever the hell we want, or whatever the hell I want, a little kind of a throwback to the days of Jack FM. So this Horror-tober, we're going to continue talking about whatever the hell I want, horror-wise, by talking about 2023's horror movie, ? No One Will Save You. So the film is written and directed by Brian Duffield, and it stars Kaitlyn Dever as a woman who did something, we don't know what, and it seems the entire town she lives in hates her. Wouldn't it be a shame if aliens invaded the town that hated you and you had no one to turn to? Hilarity ensues. We'll talk spoilers, not yet though. Before we talk spoilers, we're going to just mention what we think about the movie, but we have to talk spoilers because this movie came out this year, but we also have to give a spoiler warning because this movie came out this year. So, Ryan, before we talk about the spoilery side of the movie, is this worth checking out? What did you think? Non-spoiler possible. Hold yourself back from ruining this film.
I shall do my best. Overall, I think that this is an exemplary entry into the alien subgenre, which does not get a lot of entries, especially nowadays. Overall, I'd say we probably have less than 10 to 15 in the history of cinema that are actually really worth your time. But this is kind of up there as one of the better alien invasion flicks. Is it a great film overall? We're going to talk about some of the things probably that are on the lower end of the side of this, but the alien invasion aspect is actually really well done.
Yes to everything you said, including the we'll have things to talk about.
Yes.
It's the most alien movie, I think, and I say alien as in, if you listen to Scary Stories We Tell, the paranormal supernatural alien adjacent podcast that I do, like we talk about grays and stuff like that on that show. And this is the most alien movie you could ever imagine to see, short of Roswell or Fire in the Sky or some of those other, or even a, Communion, Whitley Strieber's film. Like it's in that vein of like, this is aliens.
Yeah.
Capital A, alien. I agree with you in the sense that we don't get a lot of alien invasion movies or alien horror movies are not a thing. You're right. That being said, I think this movie has its moments, has some interesting moments, has some fun moments. But this movie also, to say shitting the bed, again, like I don't want to take away from the successes that the movie has, but the movie's failures are so hard to overlook. They almost, and they might, depending on again how we feel about this once we get into spoiler territory, it might almost ruin it for me. It verges on it. It's one of those. And then in the third act, we decide to just lose our mind, which is a horror movie, contemporary horror movie thing that I think we have been talking about probably separately with other people for the last 5 to 7 years of like, these horror movies just start falling apart in the third act. This movie, I don't think is any different in a lot of ways, depends on your kind of feelings on how much, but I think, like you said, it's a good movie in terms of a lot of the things that it does, but there are some things that, like I said, hard to overlook. So I think we would both agree, though, definitely something worth checking out. You could do worse in spooky season if you're looking for something a little less horror and a little bit more sci-fi.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing, a lot of modern horror, especially, if you're going to do something like this, you would be worried about the quality of acting. Mm-hmm. And that's not something that you have to worry about here. Like, Kaitlyn Dever is amazing in this movie. Every single scene that she's in, she is astonishing. Some of the side characters that are in here, they don't need to be here, and we'll talk about that. But her performance overall is great.
She clearly believes in the project because she was she was an EP on it. So yeah, no, it's I think for me that's the big takeaway is like Kaitlyn Dever is fantastic. But I mean the things that I've seen her in, the actress I confuse her for from Ozarks as well, because she looks like the younger actress from the Ozarks. Yeah. She's fantastic. But again, I mean, we'll talk about it. So let's leave the non-spoilery talk where it belongs and get into spoilers. So this movie's about aliens, but it's more aliens as trauma monsters, grief monsters. Yeah. Unfortunately, he says. Yeah. Aren't you sick of this? Like, I'm not sick of it in terms of like, I'm so frustrated that I'm going to stop watching. But like, at what point do we decide that we can move on to something else? And at what point are we giving ourselves permission to do so? Because again, Babadook, Talk to Me, It Follows, like the last 5 to 7 years have really been replete with these X as Y movies. And again, you could tell me, oh, horror's been doing this the whole time. It has, but they've gotten to the point now where the thing that it is almost less tangible and more metaphorical. And it's like, now we're kind of getting in the way of telling a story here when it's just meant to represent something. Looking at you, looking at you, it lives inside.
And this movie is not one that really excels on this side either. So it's not one that you would look at this aspect and say this was necessary to the story. And that's where this all falls apart for me, because I think the main problem with this is that our current film system does not support what I've been calling mid-length films. If you have something that's between 30 and 55 minutes, you are screwed. You can't take that to most film festivals. You can't release that as a film. You can't put that with anything else. The only place that lives is maybe inside of an anthology, but this wouldn't do well in an anthology.
It lives inside, you would say?
There you go. I think that this would have been a nearly 5-star film at a 45 to 50 minute alien invasion movie, but because we added all of the unnecessary drama, it drops it significantly for me.
Yeah, it gets in the way of telling the story. I mean, and maybe this is a me and it could just be a me and you problem, which is just as fair and just as fine, but I'm with you. And all of the stuff that has nothing to do with the alien invasion feels so forced and they're tacking it on. And again, I don't have any problem with a musing or a introspective look at the way someone who had accidentally murdered someone else processes grief. But what the movie lacks and what the movie fails to do is, because of the way the movie is telling the story, it doesn't really do anything with it. It just says, well, she killed somebody and she hasn't processed the grief yet, clearly. Even though it's even though it happened of 10 plus years earlier, she seems to be excoriating herself every day by living in a room or a house that has all these notes and letters that she's writing. And I'm not saying that someone would not be broken up with this for years afterwards. It's not what I'm saying. It's just, this is all presented in such a filmic way that it all feels very convenient for the plot of the movie and for nothing else, as far as I'm concerned. And we haven't mentioned the gimmick of the movie. And I think the gimmick of the movie, because I watched the movie when it came out, and then I watched it again last night with a friend of mine. He had not seen it. And I was like, well, I got to rewatch it if you want to sit and watch it at 1 a.m. So we sat and watched it at 1 a.m. and he didn't know the gimmick halfway through. And I was like, when it gets to about the halfway point of the movie, when she goes into the town after the initial alien invasion, that is when the movie starts to fall apart for me.
Oh yeah.
And it falls apart because the gimmick of the movie is there's no dialogue. Okay. But what do we do with that? Nothing. We do nothing, literally nothing with it, to the point where I thought her character was meant to be mute.
Yeah, and that's what they made it sort of framed like. I mean, exactly what you said. They shit the bed because the very first thing they do, she walks into this police station or sheriff's office, and the sheriff's wife spits in her face a decade later. Obviously, they're the girl's parents that was supposedly accidentally murdered a decade prior, but really a decade, and the sheriff's wife is going to spit in your face without exchanging words in public?
Yeah. It's like, again, like if this were something that happened a couple years earlier, I get it, but I feel like, I don't know. I feel like there comes a moment where she picks up the phone early on in the movie and you hear like, you fucking, and it's like, this happened 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time believing people in this town would still care. I mean, again, I didn't grow up in a small Midwest ? Town any more than I think you did. So like, I don't know, maybe it is this way, but I find it all very hard to believe because it all feels like a massive contrivance. All of that feels like a massive contrivance in a movie with aliens. Like that's the fucking nutty part, is all of the stuff that has nothing to do with aliens feels like a contrivance when you would not expect that to be the case 9 times out of 10. Everything else, including the alien stuff, would normally be the contrivance. But here I'm like, yeah, okay, aliens make perfect sense because there's no limiter on any side of that in the universe. All I know is this town hates her for whatever reason, but the aliens don't. So their presence is, as random as anything else in a horror movie. But yeah, anything that happens in the town among the townspeople and trying to set the backstory and inform us of why she is the way that she is and why the town is treating her this way is just so ham-fisted. I wonder, like you said, like I wonder if they were just like, well, can we just do an hour-long movie? No, right. You cannot. You might as well make your movie X-rated because you'll have about just as good of a time getting it released or anybody's attention if you're doing less than an hour. You might as well just post it on YouTube.
Yeah, the only thing that has come out in recent years that I think that actually hit that was under an hour that was close is that movie The Host, and it's only because it was the first like found footage screen adapted pandemic horror movie, and either way I don't think it had any real theater play. It didn't have much going for it because it was I think 56 minutes, and that's hard as hell to fit into a theater schedule.
Right. Well, they can buy 2 buckets of popcorn at 55 minutes.
Exactly.
You can't get your and I mean, as cynical as it is to say it, that is really part of it. You know, they would prefer there to be. I assume now, given everything that we're seeing in terms of the direction that film is moving, in terms of the kinds of movies that come out in theaters, I'm assuming everything in theaters is expected to be an hour and 45 minutes plus. Like, and it shows, but it also, again, like when you watch a horror movie that's an hour and a half long, it's refreshing too. I still appreciate that we can watch an hour and a half long horror movie, that horror movies aren't, I mean, Ari Aster aside, horror movies aren't going into the 2.5 to 3 hour territory. And I'm not saying that if they did, it wouldn't be validated, but this movie does not need to be 2 hours. And I think this movie is the perfect length in terms of this story that they're telling. But I agree with you. I think, again, like it's weird. So we have this character who murdered her friend on accident as a child. And that is the entire character motivation throughout the movie would be. And that's what I don't understand. Like, what is the character motivation here other than her surviving the alien attack? She has just been unable to forgive herself for a decade, is what we're being led to believe.
So much so that they reenact the entire murder scene, which is ridiculous. And that scene in particular, like they zoom in on this rock that she picks up, and the way that they film it, they make it look, not exaggerating here, like a pile of shit. The rock is not even a normal looking rock.
Yeah, it's I struggle with these kinds of movies because, again, like it lives inside, The Boogeyman, Cobweb, like all of these movies, the first 2 acts are so, at least in my opinion, like well thought out, well put together. And then, The Boogeyman, I don't feel like falls apart in the 3rd act. Again, another contemporary horror movie, but this movie and so many others fall apart in the 3rd act because it feels like, oh, it was a good idea, but the good idea can't sustain the entire movie. And here's the thing, I hadn't watched the preview before I saw this movie. I kind of went into it blind, so I didn't know the thing about the lack of dialogue, which we still haven't really, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but the lack of dialogue in this movie is a fucking joke. It's like it doesn't serve any purpose. It feels like a contrivance, more or less from the get-go. And by the time she starts interacting with other people in town after she's murdered a fucking alien, you would be running up and down the streets of that town, screaming at the top of your lungs, I have an alien in my house. Instead, she's just like, lots of heavy breathing. Of heavy breathing.
Even to the point where it's treated as such a gimmick, they show her getting on a bus, not interacting with the bus driver, not saying excuse me as she walks by other passengers. It makes literally no sense the way that she is in a civilization and no one communicates whatsoever.
Well, she murdered her friend. That would mean nobody would ever talk to her again.
Anyone on a bus that's traveling through town, they know she's a scapegoat. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God. Again, I mean, you're entitled to do gimmicks, it's fine. It's just, there's no point to it. Like, I have a hard time understanding. Oh, it's because they wanted the I'm sorry to stand out. They wanted the moment where she has that emotional climax, the dark night of the soul, as this movie tries to kind of sell us on, I guess. It's like, oh, okay, so that was the point. That's why you didn't do dialogue throughout the entire movie, so that the moment of emotional release can be that much more impactful. But I actually don't think this movie works after the first evening of alien invasion. I think almost everything after the first 45 minutes of this movie, to your point, is just, are we going to do it again? We're going to do the alien thing again. Like, you've already done it rather well. Yeah, you could have ended this movie with her killing that alien with the piece of the model house. And I think I would have been like, oh, okay.
It's a wonderful short film at that point.
Right. But we can't do that. We can't do that. We have to have, oh my God, so much just, again, like I don't understand anymore what we're getting at when everybody is having the same conversation and saying the same things, but not really moving the ball in a substantive way. They're just moving the ball around in a circle.
And that's where I kind of wanted to dive in. And I'm not sure if you've seen anything else from the director. That's where I'm so frustrated with this, because Brian Duffield has proven that he can end tense, what I would consider horror movies well. He did Underwater, which I truly loved. It was one of the last movies I saw in the theater before the pandemic. Similar to this one, that movie starts in the first 2.5 minutes and doesn't let off the gas until the credits roll. I feel like that movie ended very well with the great climax, literally showing Cthulhu, and he confirmed afterwards that was Cthulhu in Underwater. And then the other one that so many people have slept on, but that movie Spontaneous. Have you seen Spontaneous yet?
I have not.
So Spontaneous is a story that was also written and directed by Brian Duffield about a high school student that is sitting in class one day, and one of the other students randomly, spontaneously explodes. And I'm not talking like burning combustion, like pops like a balloon. Everybody covered in crazy pieces of organ and blood because they literally just popped in front of them. And it is, under the surface, it is an emotional love story between two people bonding through this traumatic moment, but it's not ham-fisted and done in a way that is so shoved down your throat like they do in this movie. It works, and there's actual things at stake in that film. It's awkward because at any moment, any of these characters, because you don't know what's going on, could literally explode in front of your eyes. And they do that. Some of the main characters randomly explode. So you're on edge for the entire film. But the crazy thing is it's played almost as a romantic comedy. And it's done to almost perfection. It's one of my favorite movies the last 5 years. I loved it. And then he comes out with this, and the tension is great, but all of the emotional human aspects, they're not human. They don't feel authentic. Nothing about it feels like he learned from all of his past creative endeavors.
Well, I also wonder if, just the way you're speaking about the other movie, I wonder with this movie, if it was also just a little bit of a hesitance to really come out. I mean, I'm not saying this isn't coming out swinging, but you're a writer and have written plenty of things, so you know how to write dialogue.
Right.
Like, what is the point here of not having the dialogue? And that question is never answered. And so if you can't answer that question, or at least provide me as the audience an opportunity to understand the point of the lack of dialogue, I kind of just wish you didn't do it and you just had dialogue and you allowed the character to interact with the parents so that we can see that maybe it's not this horrifying spitting on, again, like the woman spits on her, because if you have a movie with no dialogue, you have to have all of these non-dialogue driven actions that allow us to understand what's going on. I kind of wish you just done the dialogue, because it doesn't help the movie's case after we have a woman killing an alien in her house that she's not just letting everybody know, regardless of whether or not she thinks the rest of the town is taken over by aliens, because she doesn't know that at the point she's in the town, and the town isn't clearly taken over at that moment. It's like, okay, I mean, again, are these aliens here for you and you alone? That's the question I have with this movie, because that is what the movie makes everything feel like, is, oh, these aliens are here to fuck with you and resolve your life, and everybody else is just there. Yeah. And I don't get what the point of that is. Like, I mean, I do in terms of like a theme and the title of the movie, no one will save you. The only person that can save you is yourself, or from your own mental and, emotional issues that you're suffering. But so what? Then set this movie in the middle of fucking nowhere. Set this movie in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. And then you don't have to have any contrivances. And then it makes sense that she doesn't have any dialogue because she's not able to talk to anybody else and the aliens don't understand English. But nope, you have her just walking around, not talking to people. And it's like, I'm sorry, now this is a contrivance.
And they don't even answer that question for us as the viewers until about 75 minutes in, where they show her in this giant beam of light from the ship. And in the background, you finally start to see that there's a handful of other ships with those beams going down in other locations too. So you, even somebody trying to process this, you don't even have that answer to even contextualize it. So it makes it that much less impactful.
Yeah, and the first 45 minutes of the movie, I understand what's going on, but everything beyond that, once the second evening happens, like you just said, it's like, I don't understand what's happened. I don't understand why the aliens are chasing after her specifically, other than the fact that she's killed 4 of them. Okay. But the aliens seem very hell-bent on killing her. We don't know why. We have no idea. Again, like, there's so much that's unexplained, and I'm not saying I need everything explained to me, but I do need a movie to do a better job at explaining itself. Not to me, but just like explaining what's going on and why. And then we get to the end of it. And like, I know that we're skipping ahead, but the end of the movie, I think, ruins the movie for me. Because it's like, is this a joke now? Is this supposed to be funny? I guess what I don't understand with the ending of this movie, and frankly, I think this ties into the rest of the movie. What are you ultimately trying to say? And what are the aliens' purpose other than for this woman alone? Because by the end of the movie, you can't convince me the aliens aren't there for her specifically.
Right. And one of the things that I really, really did not like about the end of this is that they show you so much about the actual aliens. They show parts of the alien's body. They show the entire heads. They show you on the ship. They show you this brain-looking tentacle thing that they, see going down her throat and everything. But none of the way that she's being treated or the speech thing is explained ever. And it's like, you're willing to explain everything else, and then you end with the dance number. Something about the lack of dialogue.
It ends with a dance number is a actual fucking thing that an adult has to say about a horror movie in 2023 that came out on Hulu. It ends with a dance number.
Okay, so you just hit exactly what I was going to say. Is this whole lack of dialogue gimmick? I almost feel like this is a Hulu thing. I feel like Hulu said, we will make your movie, but we need some sort of interesting aspect to sell it. Not that just it's a good movie. We need something. And I could see, some shitty executive sitting up in his office going, make me another Quiet Place. Let's do something like that. That thing was popular as hell.
They're William Castling their movies now. We're going to send them a vibrating seat pad that they have to stick underneath them when they watch the movie to feel the aliens' vibration. I hadn't thought about it in the cynicalist of cynical terms. I guess I must have missed out on the pushing it to the furthest degree of cynicalism, or cynicism. But I was joking last night with the friend of mine that I watched with this, like, what is this, a fucking Quiet Place now? And it does. Yeah. I was not a fan of A Quiet Place for a number of reasons. One of them being, again, the gimmick only carries you so far. And in A Quiet Place, I think it carries it a little farther than this movie gets, because that ends up really being we have let you know in the trailers that that's what's going on. This movie, It's like, oh, by the way, it doesn't have any dialogue. It's not really it's not a thing that's advertised, is it? Like, I didn't see it in any of the advertising, like a movie with no dialogue. And you're right. It's just like, okay, this is just a Hulu thing.
And one of the things that it was probably marketing in some aspect, because the director was probably just trying to get more eyes on his film. I don't know if you saw this on Twitter. Duffield, either somebody leaked it or he posted a picture of a page from the script. And it was one of these, I'll use the same word, gimmicky, like frenetic, almost like madhouse type of script pages, where it's the inner monologue of what this person going through this alien invasion in their bedroom moment, what she's feeling, what she's seeing, but it's not portrayed on screen. It's drawing it a way for her to emotionally act through that scene. But there's more said through that script on that one page than you hear in the entire fucking movie. And because they didn't advertise it that way, you have different expectations from the moment that it goes live. And unless that is established as a gimmick and not something that you have to realize later, it feels much more contrived.
Yeah. If you're going to do this and you want it to be that way, then make it a fucking book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make it a book. If you want to have, the interior monologue, the character, it's like, okay, then have dialogue. Have the character talking to another character. That is what we do with dialogue, is it allows characters to talk about what is bothering them. Oh, I can tell by Kaitlyn Dever's facial expressions. Fuck off. Like, I'm sorry. She's a great actress, but at some point, lack of dialogue gets in the way. And it does here with this. Like, it just does. There's no two ways around it. And I think everything suffers. I think everything in this movie can be traced back to the lack of dialogue. I think that is where most of, if not almost all, the problems with this movie come from, is just that the commitment to, I'm not going to do any dialogue. We'll just show everybody by the way that their faces look. And it's like, okay.
I could have seen the lack of dialogue working if they would have taken all the drama, unnecessary stuff out. But the way that it is, the lack of dialogue makes it completely inauthentic. And one of the things that I was just thinking about is one of the things that hurts is Kaitlyn Dever is so good about delivering dialogue. She was two of her biggest roles before this were in Justified, where she plays somebody from Kentucky that is a criminal and amazing. And then the other thing, Booksmart. She was one of the two main characters in Booksmart and delivers some incredible comedy in perfect timing, in great intonation. She's amazing in that movie. And here she's mute.
Yeah. And again, I'm not saying Kaitlyn Dever is not a scream queen, and you don't have to use dialogue to be a scream queen, but you can't do it like this. This is just a little too bare bones. For me. And again, like if you want the character to be mute, just have her be mute. Don't explain anything else. Don't give us anything else. She murdered her friend and caused her to be a shut-in. I guess. At one point I thought the movie was going to be about her mom because, by the way, her mom is dead too. That's why, that's the other contrivance, is her mom is dead, which means she has no one to talk to in her house. So there's part of me that really wonders, what are you going to do at the end of your alien invasion movie? And a dance number is not something I had on my bingo. It feels like a joke, doesn't it? It not like a non-funny joke, but like we wrote ourselves into a corner. What do we do now? Dance.
Yeah, basically, I could see the notes. We literally need a happy ending after everything she went through. What do people do when they're happy? I know that I used to dance when I'm happy. Let's put that in there. What?
Well, that's the thing. Brian Duffield, I did read an interview with him, and he was like, I didn't want this character to be subjected to, 90 minutes of being tortured and then send her out on a low note. I wanted to send the movie out on a high note. Did you do that? Do you think that's what you did? Because I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying it's the wrong choice for this movie because it makes no sense. Do I think it could have made sense? I guess it could have. I guess there are plenty of opportunities in the movie for Brian Duffield to have the character speak, interact with other characters, actually let us know what she's feeling. And no, we just instead no dialogue throughout the entire movie and then musical number at the end. Like, that's not enough. And it's not, again, no horror fan is asking for more dance numbers, please.
It has been 16 years since Frank Darabont's The Mist was released. And one of the main reasons that we still talk about The Mist
is the musical number at the end. They're in the car singing about how they're going to have to shoot one another in the head. Isn't that the funniest song in the movie?
And then the dad gets out and tap dances. Nobody in that felt the need to send everybody off in a high note. So because of that, it has a lasting impact. You're left feeling dread because in a situation like that, there's no hope. And if these aliens are invading in this violent, literally invasive way that they are, where is the hope after that? There's no hope. Why should they go out literally dancing?
Because the aliens are all controlling them, I guess. That's what I don't understand. So the movie ends with our heroine pulling the alien organism out of her own throat, which I guess allows her to live in a dream or fugue state of the things that she's always wanted, she's getting. But she understands and realizes that the loss of her friend is not something that she can undo. So she is beamed back to Earth, and the aliens are still there in human form or in human suits. And she is now accepted by the town because the aliens don't know that she murdered someone. Or I guess they do know, and they're just okay with it. That's what we were trying to figure out last night once we watched the movie. It's like, what is the ending? Is the ending that the aliens are so afraid of her because she's killed 4 of them that they won't try to fuck with her anymore? I mean, she pulls that thing out of her own throat, so it would stand to reason maybe they don't want to fuck with her anymore. But why? This one person what about anything that we've seen in the movie would lead the aliens to believe she represents humanity more than anybody else and deserves to be left alone?
Yeah, it makes it just feel like a giant leap to make it a morality tale. She learned the power from within, so now she's free. Let's let her go.
Right. It's like, but the aliens have taken over. Like, and that was the thing. I was talking with my friend last night. I was like, well, do the aliens continue to do human jobs and go about their daily lives and, till the land and pay the bills and go to the bank and still show up
and
for their
never
job?
speak.
Right. And like show up for their jobs and stuff. No, none of this makes any sense the moment you start thinking about it more than, I don't know, like that's what I don't understand is like, if you're sending the audience out on this weird moment, are you expecting them to not think about what you were showing them and ask themselves like, is this for real? Like, I thought the end of this movie was a joke when I first saw it, where she's dancing with spaceships flying above her. Like it just begs the question, like, was this all just for you, or are the aliens taking over and they just happen to think that you're a problem that we don't want to deal with anymore, so we'll just leave you be? It's never made clear. I'm not saying it has to be, but they need to do more than this.
Although I definitely hope there is no sequel.
Yeah. Like, well, yeah. Like, where do you even go from here at this point? Like, where do you go from she's living in her hometown that she's always wanted to live in and has lived in her entire life? Like, but now everybody who was mean to her, which I guess was the entire town, doesn't know she murdered anyone, even though the aliens do know she murdered someone.
I mean, maybe the sheriff and his wife adopt her, and they turn into like a family touring dancing band or something.
An alien mom and dad and a non-alien human being. It's just weird to me because, like, again, like I something like Cobweb or not The Boogeyman, not so much, but definitely It Lives Inside. That third act is just like a complete mess. Yeah. And I don't think that the third act of this movie is a complete mess. I think the second act and third act are a complete mess. I think the second half of this movie is a mess. And I think that, having a moment, like you said, where she says, I'm sorry to her friend who she sees. Like, how was that not the end? Oh, then she has to kill a version of herself then. Like, I forget how long this movie keeps going with the visual metaphors and kind of the visual language that it's using of like, well, she's, she has to kill herself with a box cutter to overcome her fears of not feeling accepted because she murdered someone by accident 10 years ago. Like,
I didn't hate the alien stuff that happened in the second half that was actually happening and at her home. But if I were to like bottle up the good parts, I think that's all it would be throughout the entire movie is the alien stuff that's happening at her house. The moment it starts to turn to the dramatic side or the individuals in the town or any of that, it doesn't work. But even so, the second half of the film, when they start showing the alien stuff at her house, primarily in the front yard, it happens a lot. All of that, it's basically a retelling of the first act, just in a slightly different way.
Right.
And there's some intriguing visuals that, in all reality, you could have tacked on to the end of the first act and called that a really great 40-minute film and been done.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. This movie really excels when it's being a horror movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a hard time anymore really sussing out if this is a story that you're telling us and there is a meaning and a metaphor to it.
Yeah.
It lives inside, the metaphor gets in the way of entertainment. In this, I don't think it's clear enough what's the intention of the filmmaker. And that's a similar problem. Not the same problem, but a similar style of problem, which is I don't really get what you mean. I get what you're getting at. Like, I don't understand the conclusion of this movie and why someone who wrote the other 90 pages or whatever the fuck it is would have gone, yeah, dance them. Like, again, because I understand the metaphor it's so heavy-handed throughout, and then it just be more like, okay, all right.
And that's the worst part of it is there's no real metaphor to understand because they go through all of it. There's nothing to process. There's nothing to comprehend. You just ingest the shit that they're pouring down your throat.
Yeah.
And that's where I get cynical about it. Like I mentioned earlier, I really think this is a U.S. film-centric studio / whoever is financing these films. This one, Hulu is a studio technically. I think it lies on those because a lot of the current, very modern horror films from international countries are not having this issue. They're not seeing every film fall apart in the third act. They're not seeing every film end on a happy note. They're not seeing every film has to relate to the death of your mother or some sort of traumatic event that you have to process for the rest of your life. It's
I'm
just
saying you don't have to, but like,
right.
for a movie's sake, is that entertaining?
Especially when it's been done 73 times just in the last 26 months.
Yeah, boy, ain't that the truth.
It's a waste. It is a huge waste of time.
And you would think people would stop asking for this because at some point people would stop watching it. But no, like we're content to have, Babadooks and ghosts and aliens all just being a metaphor for your inability to process grief and trauma, whatever kind of grief and trauma it happens to be. That's the other thing. Like, it's so amorphous that it could have been about her mom dying. And I would have been like, oh, that makes just about as much sense as what happens here. You killed your friend by accident. But how do you actually feel about that? Because all I see is you writing about how sad you are, but because there's a lack of dialogue, I never really get a sense of you as a character.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If they really wanted to make it a metaphor, they could have revealed at the end that all of these townspeople that she was going to for help, they don't exist because she's actually isolated out in the middle of nowhere, and she left because this was such a terrible moment for her. And so now she lives 40 miles from civilization. So if something like this happens, she genuinely has no escape and no one will save her. Right. That could have solved all of this, literally. And that would have solved the no dialogue thing because nobody can hear her in the middle of nowhere.
Right. That was the second tagline for Alien before they set it in space. No one can hear you in the middle of nowhere.
In the Canadian forest land. You right? Not safe.
I agree. Because again, as much as It Lives Inside really hammers home some of its metaphors, at least it's doing it. Like, at least it's doing it. At least it's taking the time to have the dialogue between the characters to hammer that home. Here, Kaitlyn Dever is she has to do everything. She literally has to do everything in this. And the one thing she can't do is salvage the fact that there's no dialogue. That's the one thing she can't do. No matter how many times she says, oh, shit, and oh, my, it can't fix it.
Right. What a waste.
I know. What a waste of her time is what it feels like, because she's such a good actress that you're just like, man, could you just say anything for the next 5 minutes? Like, I'm sorry. But that moment is so impactful when she forgives herself. No, is it? Are you telling me it's not? Are you laughing because the emotional core of this movie is,
it crumbles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So they waste her acting ability. But the other big thing, just to, give another positive, they waste a whole lot of great alien scenes. Again, some of the best alien scenes in cinematic history, genuinely. They've got some really great creepy tension here with these, and the big thing is they don't shy away from it. You see the alien not even like 3.5 minutes into this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's the thing, I was joking about it, the overwhelmingly alienness of the movie, but this movie really strikes at a couple things that are, again, middle of nowhere, being abducted, not feeling like you can get away or turn to people for help. Like, all of these things are really speaking to the alien encounter experiences that so many people have. And I like you said, I like that this is an alien movie about aliens that look like aliens that have and operate by the expectational alien logic that I think we as film goers, or at least horror movie film goers, expect from these kinds of movies. But here's the question: are the aliens actually scary? Like, what is going on with the aliens? Because by the end of the movie, the aliens let her go, and so it's like, well, what are these aliens scary then? What is I don't know what's happening. And like I said, the movie ends up trying to ruin all the good things that it did. Because I'm with you. Everything with the aliens is fantastic. Their design is pretty good. They look fine. The CGI is just anymore. It's like, that's CGI. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's not amazing. Although I do like the design they went with, especially the fact that they made the feet kind of like hands. That's a very unique setup, and it makes it just a little more uncanny valley type of fear that you could get there. But other than that, it's literally just pure violence that you're afraid of in that moment. And it's well designed, but they've wasted a lot of potential with this one.
Yeah. Well, and the amount of alien kind of interactions that happen in the second half, it's almost constant too.
Yeah.
So you would think like, okay, we're really going to get something out of this. But for as good as those scenes are, it just, everything else doesn't live up to, it doesn't live up to the alien part. It doesn't live up to the horror movie part. Like it stops being a horror movie after a while. And
Yep.
it wants to, I don't know what it wants to be. That's the question. Like, I don't know what this movie really wants to be. Is it a musing on grief and trauma and the loss of, is it the loss of innocence? Is it the loss of a friend? Is it both? I don't know. Because again, there's so much stuff that's just shown in this movie, and showing, not telling, is a good thing, but you can't show with no context whatsoever and expect me to just go, oh, I get it, understand. And again, seen enough movies that's fine for me, but what about all the other people that undoubtedly threw this movie on in the last month? Because it's only been out for a month.
Yeah. And again, subverting expectations is great and should be used in literally every movie, but not with the dance number.
No, but hey, it's about her hometown. Like, in my hometown, like, cool. It's just like, what are we supposed to take away from any of what we see? And again, when I talked about It Lives Inside, I was kind of complaining about it being too metaphorical. Now it's just like, I kind of want more metaphorical stuff, really. Like, if you're going to go there, you really need to go there. And also make the first thing of the aliens invading the house, make that the entire movie. Make the entire movie just one night in your house against the alien. Don't cut away to the next day. Because the moment it's sunlight, it's like, oh, well, now she can do something about it. Now no, there's now the plot contrivances come in. So now she can't deal with it. But it is just a very, I don't know, like, what's crazy is you mentioned Underwater and you mentioned Spontaneous. Like, Underwater, I think, is a very good movie that everybody slept on. Hard for a number of reasons. I mean, I know that Kristen Stewart's not everybody's favorite, and she's not everybody's cup.
And you make that better by adding in TJ Miller.
Everybody loves TJ Miller. I don't know what one would do if they weren't calling in bomb threats at the airport or whatever the fuck TJ Miller was doing. Christ. Yeah, at least this movie doesn't have TJ Miller. But you're right. I mean, I think there were things that worked against that movie, like a TJ Miller, like a Kristen Stewart, that made people ignore it, which is a shame because, to your point, like, it's so weird and such a fun movie. And
even has the emotional storylines that they need to. There are some traumatic things that they're going through. There's a death of a child that one of the characters talk about, and literally has to, choose to sacrifice some things for. And it is a lot of the same undertones that are in this movie, but it's done so much better.
Because it's not the fucking focus piece. Like, that's, for me, the issue with these movies ends up being like, you can focus on everything else and integrate the message. Don't focus on the message. Don't show the younger version of yourself writing a note and then you reach out and touch the hand. It's all okay. I don't need to see this because you're not earning this the way you think you are. And frankly, it's the part. It's the part of the movie that you've said it already. Like, I'm so not engaged that the movie seems like it's trying its hardest to push me away. That's like, oh, by the way, it's still the alien movie. Oh, right. But I forgot that there's this like 20-minute span of time where we have to feel for you as a character and feel for the decisions you've made. It's like, I would if any of this shit mattered, because we got to hear how she feels. We're just supposed to interpret it through her eyes and her face that this is how she feels. Let the woman talk. Let her have a moment where she can actually, instead of just saying, I'm sorry, give her that moment of catharsis to actually have a moment to process. Nope, just a musical number. Okay. Like, that's the thing. It's like, if you're going to spend all this time setting this stuff up and you don't really resolve it, then why did you set it up? Why did you tack on 45 minutes if it's not just a studio mandate, which it probably was?
Yeah. It's just, again, supremely disappointing. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. And it's disappointing because, again, like, if we got alien invasion movies every year, I wouldn't complain. But there's so few and far between that to get one like this and it be just okay is a bummer, a big bummer, really. Because, I don't want a sequel. I'm sure we'll get one, but I don't know if the sequel or anything that would come out afterwards would live up to the first like 25 minutes of this, which I think are some of the, like you said, some of the better being chased by a thing in your house movies. Again, why they decided to go further than that and then have it be daytime and then more aliens is beyond me.
Yeah.
But that, again, it's serving a different master. It's serving the master of the emotional core of the movie, the aliens. And again, the aliens are a hive mind ? Maybe not. I don't know. Doesn't matter. They're talking to one another at the end of the movie like they're making a decision about what they're going to do with her. And again, like I just keep asking, why do the aliens care so much and why should we care? And I can't find an answer. And I can't find an answer because the movie doesn't provide one. And it really should have. Really should have. And it feels like he being Brian Duffield, thinks he did give you enough to chew on. And it's like, I think you missed the mark. Not by a whole bunch. I mean, again, this is a better movie than most of the things I've seen in the last couple years in terms of small budget horror, but
right. Yeah.
It's not as bad as Grim Cuddy, which was another Hulu movie. That was like a movie that was made like a student film, is what it felt like, compared to this. Even with just the quality. Yeah, well, even the quality of the CGI here is there's something to be said for shooting everything at night, more or less.
Right. Especially when you set up in the first act of the film that light itself is a danger.
Right.
And that is a continuing theme through the whole thing. If that's the case, why is 35% of your movie in the daytime?
Yeah. Yeah. I really was surprised the first time I watched this movie that there was anything outside of the house and anything that took place in daytime, because the movie's trailer doesn't really make you think there's anything else outside of maybe one scene before everything happens, but not like a full on interlude. So yeah. I don't know, man. There's so much horror stuff that comes out throughout the year that this movie a year from now will be completely forgotten in the shuffle because it's a Hulu exclusive movie and it's a streaming movie, and streaming movies are a dime a dozen, unfortunately. Like Talk to Me was not a streaming movie, and I think it shows. But this movie is the streaming movie, and in a lot of ways, it really feels like it. Especially that, like, I would actually go as far as to say Netflix horror movies and streaming horror movies, third acts are really, to pinpoint it exactly, those are the ones that aren't. Specifically the streaming service stuff. Yeah. Did you see Eli? Did you see that movie?
I have not yet. No.
That's another one where the third act is just like, oh, everybody, we just don't care anymore. Like, again, like when you've written yourself into a corner, I guess you have the opportunity to just kind of fall apart or just go for the bombast and just try to push your way back out of said corner you've painted yourself into. I don't think this movie succeeds in that, but that's what it's trying to do at the end, is really get itself out of a weird corner that it's painted itself in.
And that's where a lot of the stuff that I do for what I'm involved with movies and stuff, I tend to watch a lot from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And a lot of them are foreign films. And the hard part is most of those are not about emotional trauma. Most of those do not suffer problems with the third act. Most of those are under 90 minutes. Like, it's not uncommon to get a 75 to 80 minute movie that is solid the entire time. And even if they sometimes appear to be related to trauma, they're done in a way that actually subvert that and can be about, like marking a character in their youth to have something happen to them way later in life, or, selecting somebody almost as like a prophecy of something that's going to be happening eventually. And it's such a different way of looking at films than what we get through these streaming services. And it's just disappointing to see what we could have, and we get this.
Not everything can be Don't Look Now, unfortunately. That's the reality, right? It's like stuff like that. A horror. It's as much of a horror movie as it is a thriller. From like a movie like that from 73, you're right. Like they didn't feel the need to send everybody out on a high note. They didn't feel the need to pander to the audience. It kind of does its own thing, but it is about grief. It is about two parents who have lost a child. And that is one of the emotional cores of the movie, but it's not the only one. And it's explained, and we get character feelings made, dialogue available, not just like
lots of dialogue in that movie.
Looking around with, your eyes. Or my favorite thing about the entire movie, at the end, Kaitlyn Dever just breathing heavily so that we understand that the alien is not in her throat. Because what is the other reason for her going in the dance scene where she looks like she's going to pass out? Like, it's so strange. Like, it's like that scene at the end of the thing where it's like, can we see both of their breaths? Okay, well, one must be an alien and one isn't. Like, it's, if you're going to go for an emotional core and have something to say, I don't think it should be the focus of your movie.
No, it's not 85 minutes of leading up to somebody saying, I'm sorry.
But it's so impactful because it's the only line of dialogue she says in the entire film. Isn't that crazy? Those executives at Hulu must have been shitting themselves. They're like, this is so cool. This is such a cool movie. No one's ever done this before. Right? They're looking around every right. Nobody knows the answer, so everybody just agrees.
Of course.
It's I hadn't thought about it from the Hulu angle of like we're trying to gimmickize our movies, but we're just gonna have a movie where there's nothing, we don't see anything on screen, and it's just an audio soundscape. Experience it that way. Like
Bird Box.
Yeah.
They did it.
Oh yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah, I still haven't seen Bird Box. That was one
I haven't watched it either because I don't want to watch the gimmicky shit. Like I'm tired of it.
Yeah, me too. William Castle was so long ago that I would have thought nobody would have cared about doing stuff like that anymore. But now it's just less entertaining because there's not like a fun component to the fact that she doesn't talk. She doesn't talk because it's so much trauma. I guess.
The biggest thing is it was a different type of gimmick. It was playing with somebody's fears and insecurities rather than with A Quiet Place. And we have a deaf character, and you're literally taking that that different able part of their body than what most people are able to utilize every day, and they base a whole story around it. Like, it's cool that they used a deaf actress. We don't need to focus on somebody not being able to speak, not being able to hear, not being able to see, not being able to use their sense of touch. What is the taste movie going to be? Somebody can't taste and they're going to make a horror movie based on that? Come on.
I would watch that movie.
It'll be, oh God, I have COVID.
Yeah, right. I never saw the second Quiet, so I don't even, does it continue with the theme of the first movie with the no talking?
It is much, much better.
Oh, wow.
Than the first one. Much better. And that's because they utilize ways to actually speak and sort of start to adapt to this new environment.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't like the first one so much that I kind of avoided the second one.
Yeah, it's very different. It's not somebody literally giving birth in a society where you can't make any sounds. So it's so contrived. It is much better than the first one.
I fell asleep in the theater during the first one. Like I literally sitting there fell asleep because the gimmick, just the first 30 minutes of that movie is if you're in a suggestible state of I can fall asleep, there's not anything being said. So you could be forgiven for just passing out in A Quiet Place, a movie where you're not expecting to hear anything.
Exactly.
But not this movie, not the Alien movie. I was expecting dialogue. I didn't know ahead of time that there was a gimmick with this movie. And it doesn't help. For me, it doesn't help the movie. It only hinders it and amplifies the problems that I have with it. But alien invasion movies are so few and far between that I don't want to complain too much because I would like for somebody else to make another alien invasion movie in the next 10 years. Right?
Please.
So it was like the 90s, Fire in the Sky, Communion, and then nobody does aliens anymore. It's all, I think Independence Day kind of was obviously at the forefront of that. You can't do small alien movies anymore because I think the expectation is they couldn't even do it here. It had to be the aliens are taking over the Earth and they're taking over the town. Like, why not just have the aliens fucking with this one person? Because I guess that's not stakes enough.
And the last movie that did that well was Signs.
Man, there is a little Signsiness to this movie, but I think this movie's better than.
I love Signs. I think Signs is borderline a masterpiece. I don't love the whole water contrivance at the end, obviously. The movie itself is one of Shyamalan's best.
I will agree with you there. It is a better movie than this movie because while the contrivances are just as contrived, at least the characters acknowledge it.
Yep.
They're part of it. They're as surprised as the audience is that those contrivances actually come back. Like, I'm surprised there wasn't a moment of flashback where it's her mom says something to her and then she remembers in the moment to do the thing. Like, I'm surprised they didn't do that. I don't know why they didn't because they get given plenty of opportunities to do that. But yeah, no, I don't dislike Signs. I think Signs has its own weird third act problems, but at least the movie hangs together as kind of amusing on the things that Shyamalan is going for, as opposed to maybe going for in this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Signs. Yeah, Signs. Yeah, it's probably, other than Mel Gibson. He's fine. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is who's really good in that movie, I think. And the child actors are fantastic. I don't know. Mel Gibson's, we all have our personal opinions on Mr. Gibson, I'm sure. So
unfortunately.
I would rewatch Signs over rewatching this. And I think Signs is
100%.
2 hours long. Is that right?
Something like that, yeah. But Signs delivers on similar beats of tension and does it almost as good as this one. And honestly, it has dialogue. And the funny thing is, Shyamalan is known for having terrible dialogue, and I'd still rather watch that over this.
Yeah. I'm completely with you. I want more Alien movies. That's all I want out of this. I want this to just light a fire under somebody else to make like the great alien abduction. Because I don't think we've gotten it in terms of like contemporary. I think Fire in the Sky is
it's the closest.
Yeah, it's the best example. Or Communion, I think. Those two kind of stand out. But yeah, I want like what's that not Uma Thurman, Mila Jovovich movie? The Fourth Kind.
It was decent, but I don't know. I feel like this one especially for No One Will Save You. There's incredibly high highs, and the hard part is there are bottom of the basement low lows, and those don't jive together to make a decent movie. When you have something like Fire in the Sky, it had probably the highest highs because it's known for having one of the creepiest scenes ever. But it's such a small portion of the movie.
Literally, it's the end of the
right. It because it's so tiny in that entire runtime. It doesn't live up to like what this could have been. And if they would have just focused on it in a more, just make it an alien forward movie and call it a day. That's it.
Yeah. Why was that not good enough?
I don't know.
That's the question, right? Why was Alien Invasion movie small scale not good enough? Because again, her killing her friend doesn't factor into the aliens writ large. It just factors into why the aliens have seemingly left her alone. She learned her lesson. Through the power of aliens, she learned her lesson. I guess. I'm with you. Just make a fucking alien movie. Just make an alien movie. Just make a movie with aliens.
Exactly.
Did you watch the last Voyage of the Demeter?
Not yet. Same thing. I heard that the third act really shits the bed.
I don't know if I agree with that outright, but I could see why someone would feel that way. I don't think it shits the bed as hard as this movie does. At least it has an ending that makes sense, unlike this movie. Yeah, I would check it out. It's definitely, again, came out this year?
Yeah.
A lot of stuff has come out this year that I didn't check out. This movie I did, so that should say something. In terms of like the amount of alien movies we get as a whole, at least these kinds of aliens. So
And this film had some marketing behind it. This movie was everywhere for 10 days. It was on every other tweet. The director being everywhere with that script page. Kaitlyn Dever's talking about it. Like this one was large. Hulu was pushing this movie.
Well, and we're in a pretty, I think, interesting time right now of aliens are coming back in. Netflix just released that Alien kind of series. The U.S. government keeps declassifying stuff, which literally doesn't mean anything, guys, because it's the government declassifying it. But you got to look at where the things are coming from before we can just all say, oh, aliens exist because the U.S. government said so. The government that we haven't been trusting this whole time.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, I want more alien movies. I want more of this because I think we're at a time and a place where the alien zeitgeist is as strong as it has ever been in terms of public talk, public discourse, people willing to have conversations they may not have been willing to have 5 to 10 years ago in terms of like academics about aliens and UFOs. So we're at a prime time for something like this to come out and make waves as well. And Brian Duffield clearly understood. So kudos to him, but just make a fucking alien movie, man. That's, doesn't have to be I killed my friend and now the aliens represent my grief. Like they don't have to do that.
Yeah. And
isn't it just fun that it's like it's a trend that at one point was fun and interesting, but now it has outlived its welcome so much that I am beyond done with it. And for me, Talk to Me is like the peak. That's as high as I think the highest highs are in that movie in terms of like actually handling the grief in an interesting way that doesn't get in the way of the rest of the movie telling an interesting story. Also an hour and a half.
And obviously, I'd say that's probably the best metaphor for drugs in a movie that I've ever seen that wasn't actually related to drugs.
True.
The scene of them going back to the hand and just getting that rush from it. There's not been anything else that I've seen filmed so earnestly about somebody feeling this like unconscious desire to keep partaking in something they know is very dangerous.
Right. Yeah, no, and again, when it's just subtext and you don't focus on it and you don't sit and linger on it, it works. but the moment you want to make it a thing, it's like, I kind of don't want it to be a thing, and it doesn't need to be a thing. You don't have to make it a thing for me to appreciate it. Maybe it's the lack of the trust in the viewers. I think, again, to your point, if Hulu is to blame for any of this, which may have to be to blame for some of it, it's not trusting the audience enough. But I mean, that's been a thing anybody for the last 15, 20 years has been crowing about, nobody trusts the audience. Everything's got to be dumbed down and explained and re-explained and explained one more time. And didn't I explain it the last 3 times? Let me do it one more time. That's where we're at now. And it's like, okay, I mean, that's fine, but not every genre needs to really always be about something else. It could just be a horror movie, and it's not.
True. Well said.
So final thoughts on No One Will Save You.
Worth a watch. Don't expect a masterpiece. The one thing, we mentioned the CGI earlier as being very CGI in some scenes. And the funny thing, it's a very modern way to complain about this, because in something like Fire in the Sky, this sort of CGI would have blown our mind. Right. But just imagine if we can do this now, what an alien invasion movie could look like in 2030.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm with you. My hope is that this opens the door and paves the way for more things like this, more alien things that do this better, but again, remains to be seen. And remains to be seen if we get a sequel. I mean, don't know what I would need to see more of with this movie, but if you want to...
Nothing.
Well, I mean, again, if you go the direction of not her, someone else involved with or having to deal with these aliens, okay, then it's like a Cloverfield type thing. But
right. I don't need that universe, though. I just want a better alien invasion story. Just give me a different one, please.
Same. I'm with you. Yeah, this is a good starting place. This is a fun direction for us to start at, but I want more. I want somebody else to do more, do better, do less of the emotionally unnecessary things that now need to be tacked on to every horror movie, because otherwise I guess the monsters just can't be monsters anymore. Monsters have to always stand in for something else. So again, I'm not saying I don't agree, but I'm just saying not every single goddamn horror movie needs to do that. So, and when they don't, it's beyond refreshing, frankly. So, when it's just a horror movie about a creature chasing after some kids or doing something like that, I'm okay now with it just being that, because now I've seen what happens when everybody wants to really focus on the other stuff. So
true that.
Yeah. So because I didn't give you the opportunity at the opening, Ryan, tell my audience and anybody who hasn't checked out what you do, where they can find the things that you do and what they would be hearing or seeing if they did.
Sure. I am everywhere under the name The Disconnected. You'll see that sometimes with a hyphen because social media is stupid and some people steal names. You can find me at Twitter, X, whatever, Facebook, Instagram. The big thing is I am focused on physical media. So anytime something is released on Blu-ray 4K coming home as part of a home video package, I post announcements for all of those. I post about deals. I post interviews with individuals that are running these home video labels. I also have a very active Patreon where I've got individuals that have signed up and joined a Discord so we can discuss. Literally, while we've been recording this, something super limited went on sale, and I've gotten, not kidding, like 150 messages coming through my Discord of people buying it. And it's wild that people are still this gung-ho about physical media, but I know you can't see this, but I've got a wall of physical media behind me, and it's a big part of my life. I work on some of these discs, and it's just a really, really intriguing and lovely way to explore film, especially looking back on some of the classic film that has made the films that we see today be able to exist.
Well, and I think you mentioned it, physical media is not going away. Even if this movie's never going to come out on physical media. I would assume it's never coming out.
Yeah, most likely.
Most streaming things don't. I see the wall of DVDs. Folks, it's a giant wall. It's a giant wall of Blu-rays and DVDs. He's not joking. He's being serious about his love for physical media. We are fighting the good fight. I mean, again, example, this movie will never get a physical release, which means at some point, if Hulu doesn't want it to exist anymore, it won't. So,
well, and we talked about that earlier. Streaming movies, they're gone in a blip. People, they don't have that lasting impact of something that you saw in theaters and then it gets a home video release, 2 or 3 months later. And so it gets this another wave of press and people picking it up, posting pictures, discovering the film for the first time. No, it's just, it plays and then it's gone. That's it.
Well, given that Best Buy is no longer going to be selling DVDs, I don't know where people are going to go to get their DVDs. Target.
Well, if you want to
Walmart?
find out, follow me and I will share all that information with you.
See, that's the right answer. As for me, if you want to follow me, patreon.com/Kulturecast is where you can donate 10, 20, and 50. Twitter/Kulturecast, Kulturecast.com. But just like, rate, and review the show wherever you get it. That helps us and helps us find our audience. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me. This was fun. I wish the movie had been better, but I'm still glad we talked about it because, it deserves it, I feel like.
It's an honor. Thanks for having me on. This was really fun, and maybe we can do it again for a good movie one day.
Now it's just always going to be bad. We're never going to do a good movie together. Just
honestly, I'm fine with that.
That's fair. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next episode.